The President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. Without further ado, we would like to hand over to the co-prosecutor. Please use the appropriate time as requested this morning. You may now proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. I have just a few more subjects to ask you about. And I want to go back to an issue we talked about on Friday, which was Ieng Sari's 1974 trip to Cambodia. Can you tell us how long in total Ieng Sari was in Cambodia when he returned in 1974?
Response. In 1974, so far as I remember, perhaps early 1974, he came, and also he came to attend the General Congress in that same year. That the two occasions.
And on the trip that where he attended the General Congress in June of 1974 that we discussed on Friday, what else did he do in Cambodia on that trip, if you recall?
The President, witness, could you please hold on, wait until the chamber hears from counsel for Mr. Kyu Sompon. Counsel Kung Samon, you may now proceed. Counsel Kung Samon. Thank you, Mr. President. I may need clarification because I heard through interpreter that he met with the witness on Friday. Was that meeting during hearing? But I remember that there was no hearing on Friday.
Thank you, counsel. I misspoke. I was referring to the testimony on Thursday. But thank you for correcting that. So, other than the meeting we talked about on Thursday, the party congress that Ieng Sari attended, what else did he do on that trip to Cambodia?
Response. So far as I remember, he went nowhere else apart from attending the Congress. And I just don't remember where he went to after that.
Do you remember whether there was any discussion of the evacuation of Phnom Penh at that June 1974 Congress?
A response. I do not think such a matter was being discussed during that time.
The next subject I wanted to ask you about, during the months leading up to the 17th of April 1975, do you recall hearing about the 7 Lon Nol super traders? Do you remember that subject?
Response: No, I don't.
And the last area I want to go back to is the April 1975 meeting at B5 that you talked about on Thursday. Following that meeting at B5 that related to the evacuation of Phnom Penh, was the plan to evacuate Phnom Penh well known and talked about among the cadres who were at the B5 office?
Response: After the discussions by the leaders, information was disseminated to others.
Thank you. Mr. President, I'd like to end by just playing a 10-second video clip for the witness. This is an excerpt from case file number D108/32.2. It is video V00172-512. That's V00172-512. And the clip is from, for the record, is from the 1 hour and 40-minute 21-second point to the 1 hour 40-minute 34-second point. Both the full video and the clip are listed in our Annex 16 as documents 263 and 271. I believe the audio-visual unit has the clip and is ready to play it for the witness. There's no need for sound. We just want the witness to look at the pictures and see if he can identify them for us. Just to clarify, the video is about 10 seconds, not 10 minutes.
The President: You may proceed. AV booth officer is now instructed to ensure that the video clip can be put up on the screens.
I recognize it's a short clip, Mr. Witness. If you want us to play it again, we can. But were you able to recognize the 3 people that were in the video?
The President, AV booth officer is now instructed to display the video footage again.
Were you able to identify the 3 people who were in the video clip that we just showed?
Response: I saw 3 people. including Pol Pot, Nuon Chea, and Khieu Samphan.
And you can see in this video there is a thatched roof hut with wooden poles. Is the hut that is shown in this video similar to the hut at B5 that you told us about on Thursday, where the meeting took place in April of 1975? Is that a similar structure to where the April 1975 meeting at B5 took place?
Response: Yes, that's the same hut, but this time we only saw 3 people. When I was talking about this the other day, there were more people in the hut.
Thank you very much, Mr. Witness. We appreciate your time and your detailed responses. And Mr. President, members of the bench, I have no further questions at this time.
The President, thank you. We would like now to hand over the floor to the lead co-lawyers for the civil parties to proceed with questions to the witness if they would wish to do so. Counsel Pick Ong. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Your Honors. On behalf of the lead co-lawyers, I would like to assign this task of asking questions to Mr. Chun Thi and Elizabeth Simonoff. The President, you may now proceed. Counsel Chun Thi. Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Your Honors. Good afternoon, my learned colleagues and everyone who is observing the court proceedings. And very good afternoon, Mr. Witness. I am Lao Chun Thi. I am from the Legal Aid of Cambodia, representing civil parties. I have a few questions to put to you. The questions would be classified into different subject matter. The first question is, when did you join the revolution? Response: I did in early 1963, and I left my home in 1966 on the 24th of August. During 1963, I joined the revolution in my village. Counsel Lao Chun Thi. Thank you. How old were you when you joined the revolution? Response: I was 16 or 17 years old. Question: when you joined the revolution, Did you understand the meaning of revolution? Response. I was inspired by my uncle. In 1954, he went to Vietnam. And my father, during the Iraq regime, he also took part in the movement. So I was taught, and my uncle disappeared later on. He went there to study communism, and it was not yet clear concerning the movement. We noted the North Vietnamese movement that passed us, and we noted the armed soldiers. They wore military uniforms and hats, and I was inspired by that. Question. I may seek a point of clarification. You said about the work of your uncle and father that inspired you to join the revolution, but how would you be influenced by the Khmer Rouge to join the revolution, since you were from the Charai ethnic minority group? How were you convinced? Response. I bore witness to this. In my village, I noted that letters were being ferried from one village to another, and I also witnessed the meetings in the jungle. And I heard my in-law who educated young people in the jungle that we were the young people and we were ethnic minority groups, and we were not educated. We did not receive any education before, and now we were brought some hope, and I'm not sure whether it's relevant to that or not, but we were told that we had to join the revolution for the cause of Indo-Chinese revolution, and I did not speak Khmer very well back then. I learned from my in-law who had been in contact with other people in the revolution, and I was too young back then. He continued to say that revolution was indeed to free us from being oppressed. And of course, when there is oppression, there must be struggle. And to free us, we have to jointly join hands in the fighting this all together with the Vietnamese and with other people in the region. I don't know how he got this idea from, but I believe that he had been educated on this and he taught this to us. And young people in the village were conscious. They had been conscious and joined the revolution long before me. And I joined the revolution during the second phase of the recruitment already. And I did so after consulting with my parents. They said that as a man, as a boy, I could go as far as I wished to, because they felt that my uncle already could do that, so I could also join the revolution. And the idea was supported by members of the family, like my elder brother. And my elder brother said that I was healthy and I could do that. And my elder brother said that his health was not that good, so he allowed me to join the revolution first. And no one forced me anyway to join the revolution, because it was done on my own accord. And when people said we should go to the jungle, and I just felt that it was the need to join them, and I went to join them. At the very beginning, I was in the jungle, exposed to the jungle for a few months. Council Largentine. Thank you. The reason I asked this question, because when it comes to the Democratic Cambodia's revolution, people were influenced by some ideology before they could be convinced to join revolution. And people were led by the party to win a victory. So my question again is that did you realize that when you were convinced by the management of the party, did you know where you would go after joining the revolution? Response. I may proceed to the year of 1964. In 1964, I heard from my in-law that there would be a revolution by Khmer people, by every Cambodian. So I was even so excited and inspired by that, because when I heard the term revolution, I really would like to join, because the more I listened to it, the pleasant it sound, the more pleasant it took me, or it gave me pleasure to really listen to that. And I was angry, very angry, having heard all about how people who were being oppressed. And as a male individual, I would be very determined to play part in this. And in 1965, the movement in Vietnam was the strongest. We knew that a lot of people came from Vietnam to the whole jungle. Indeed, early on in 1962, in my village, in Nhang village, there were bombings. aerial bombardments already started in 1962. And having recollected the event when we had to escape from being bombarded, we found it very easy to understand how much pain we suffered from such aerial bombardment. So any topic about this would convince us very easily. So people got injured, and I just witnessed everything. So I believe that was the heinous act by the American imperialists. These people really attacked people arbitrarily. So if they attacked us here, they invaded us in Cambodia. So I was witnessing this, and I really hated it, and I was angry. And I also saw the movement of the Vietnamese movement in the Mom movement in 1965. By that time, I was so much inspired, and I was hopeful that I was making the right decision. And I left my village in 1965. I left I left from my village to join the revolution, and spent a great deal of time there. And I also met people who gave us some education. I saw only people from the same ethnic minority groups. But again, when I attended more meetings, I noted that each village was led by a leader who also joined the revolution. Before I joined the revolution, I did not know that people could be enthusiastic in such a revolutionary cause. And I was so excited being educated on the revolution matter. And I understood this even more when I met Om Ieng Sari in 1967. They brought us with the portraits of Lenin, Marx, Karl Marx, and then taught us some more lessons. And this can also enlighten me more on my understanding of the revolution, and made me love the revolution even more.
So my next question, on the 26th of July 2012 at 11 and 12 minutes, the prosecution asked you about 3 photos, and you said that the location of those photos were adjacent to Tropang Prey village. Geographically, where was it located? It was in Banglavir village, Santuk district, Kampong Thom province. I simply would like to ask you confirmation whether or not that location was Tropang Prey or Tropang Tum. Response. The office was in between Tropang Prey and Tropang Tum villages. If we travel from the forest, then we would pass Tropang Tum village. That office was so close to the Tropang Prey village, and it sits on the western part of Chinat River.
Oh.
Mr. Lajanti, thank you for your clarification. From 1971 to 1974, did Khieu Samphan and Pol Pot meet frequently? Response. From 1971 to 1974. They met rather often. There were some time when they were separated because the office were located in different sites, but later on the offices were moved close to one another. Then Khieu Samphan came to work in the office adjacent to Pol Pot's office. And I also indicated the other day that sometimes they worked together among three of them, Ankol number 1, Ankol number 2, and Khieu Samphan. But on certain occasion, Pol Pot wrote prepared notes in his house or location. So on certain occasions, they prepared their documents separately in their respective location. Counsel, thank you. So when they met, in your observation, did they often meet in the afternoon or late afternoon? Response. They met in the morning when they had breakfast. They had gruel together, and then they started meeting from 8:30 to 11, and then during lunchtime they also met, and then they had a short break, and then the work would resume in the afternoon. And then following the conclusion of the day work, they would go back to their respective location, and they had dinner separately. Question. So is it safe to say that they met frequently? They met subsequently to discuss matters. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. Question. I move on to another point. Prior to liberation of 1975 on the 17th of April, who appealed to the Lon Nol soldiers and people at that time? My question really is whether or not there was an appeal on the radio broadcast. Did you yourself hear the appeal on radio station? And if there was such an appeal, who made that appeal? Response. There was a public appeal, and Khieu Samphan was the one who appealed. Question. Thank you. So the appeal was made by Khieu Samphan. What was the substance of the appeal? Did he encourage people to take arms and resist? Or what was the substance of the appeal? Response. Back then, Khieu Samphan was the commander-in-chief. So he appealed to people to join the armed forces, and he also appealed to the public at large in order not to fight against Khmer people, their own people.
បាទអរគុណ
Thank you. I now move to the next point. In the revolution, there were evacuation of people in certain locations, particularly in the liberated zones. So after the people were evacuated, did people return to their own location following the evacuation? Through my observation, following the evacuation, there was no plan to return them to their previous location. Thank you. Question. When the meeting was convened in order to decide on the issue of evacuation of people from towns and urban areas, particularly Phnom Penh city, did the Khmer Rouge follow their previous practices of evacuation? Response. What happened on the ground was that before Phnom Penh was liberated, I saw through my experience that people were evacuated in Odong, but the place under the administration of Son Sen, the evacuation was also implemented. People who were evacuated from the downtown areas were supposed to reside in different liberated zones. And it did not raise any issue at all at that time. And that was the practice, and it was supposedly good practice. And as far as the soldiers and armies were concerned, once they have liberated any zone, then they would evacuate people and then relocated the people. It would be easier from the management perspective because the element was not that complicated, and we did not have any problem with the people at all, because in that new location we knew that the people were of the same element. So from management perspective it was easy. Even if the enemy wanted to infiltrate it, it would not be difficult to identify or single them out. Question. I would like to extend on that point. You said there were evacuation in Odong, and you were aware of that situation. So did you observe whether there was any consequences as from that evacuation? Were people terrified of the evacuation? Were people worried that they would not come back to their hometown? I traveled back and forth across that location, and people who had been evacuated went to reside in a different location, and there were no any difficulties at all. And surrounding Dong complex, it was considered liberated zone. So people did not have any problems or difficulty at all residing in the liberated zone. And from the people situation overall, they did not encounter any difficulties. And as far as the food supply is concerned, people did not have problem with the food. And those new people became members of the liberated zone, so they mixed up with people. If people went out to the field to grow crops, they would do it together. And if they try to get the palm juice or so, they would join force to do it together in those liberated zones. There was no issue at all. Thank you. Question. So may I go back a little bit concerning the meeting to discuss the evacuation of the people, particularly the evacuation of people from Phnom Penh? Did you happen to know that the leader at that time consider other risk of evacuating people, for example, the adverse impact on the livelihood of people who used to live in Phnom Penh city? Can you tell the court about that? Response. Following the liberation of Phnom Penh, people were evacuated out of the city to different directions. I did not receive any information concerning the difficulties or risk encountered by those people, but we only saw people leaving the city. Sometimes some of them left the city barefooted. And when I was traveling along the western part of Phnom Penh, I met the people leaving the city. One of the families carried 2 bags of banknotes, and they sweat all over their body. And I asked them what you were carrying. They dare not tell me. And then I inspected those 2 bags, and I saw all the banknotes. And I told them that you did not have to carry the banknotes. It would be a waste of your time. If you went to the liberated zone, no banknotes were used, so it would be a waste for you. And then they could not hold their tear. They burst into tears. And I tried to console them, telling them that that was the evolution of the situation. He should not be too grieved over that fact. That was the instance I encountered myself. As for other obstacles or difficulties, I did not really see what people had any problems, because in the cooperatives they had sufficient food supply, even though there were no formal exchange of goods or so, but they had food to eat. I tried to convince them that in the countryside, millions of people could make their living and it would not be challenging for just 1 million people living the city. There would be enough food to feed them.
មានន័យថានៅពេលដែលមុន
Question. So you are saying that before the evacuation, there were no explanation as to how those people would make their living when they were relocated. Did you know that the evacuation was a long-term plan, or it was the short-term plan with the purpose of sweeping out the enemy, or it was they were evacuated on fears that there would be enemies infiltrated into them, or what? Did the management or the leadership consider of the serious consequences of the evacuation? To be honest, I did not understand the plan designed by the upper leadership, but I noted that there were evacuation of people from the city. When I got into the city, it was already empty. But in terms of securities, nothing could happen with the people because everything was under the control of the Khmer Rouge regime. But later on, I heard from the base as well as from the soldiers that people who left Phnom Penh city were enduring a lot of difficulties. But I also heard from them that, Phnom Penh people that served Phnom Penh people well because they had been living in luxurious life for a long time, so they should endure the difficulty like what we had come across ourselves.
បាទអរគុណ
Thank you. So you have witnessed the evacuation of people yourself, and you met people leaving the city. My question is whether or not you saw Khmer Rouge soldier accompanying those evacuees, or did any of the Khmer Rouge soldier abused them in any way? For example, some evacuee might have left something or their belongings behind, and they wanted to come and get them, and then they met Khmer Rouge soldier who was guarding over there. Did they use any violence against those civilians? Did you see this happen during the evacuation period? Response. No, I did not. No, I did not see that happen. Personally, I did not see that.
បាទអរគុណបាទ
Thank you.
ចំណុចមួយ
Did you know that those evacuees were referred to as new people or 17 people or the depositees? Can you elaborate on this reference? On this point, people who left Phnom Penh following the 17th of April 1975, they would settle in different bases. Some old people call them new people, and some of them call them 17 April people, because when those people got to the base, they would be recorded to keep the statistics. So it was the usual practice from management perspective that they would have to have the exact figures as to how many new people came in the village or location. That was part of the administration purpose. So it was only when we prepared the list of people could we manage the number of people in the village. And in addition, we also wanted to ensure that we could control the elements in the village.
ចំណុចដែលសំខាន់គឺអ្វី
Question. When the plan to evacuate people from Phnom Penh was carried out, was there any plan to receive the people from the cities? Response. As I have answered subsequently so far, the evacuees from the city were received by people in the cooperatives. And they worked alongside with the people in the base. In certain locations, the management of the people who came from the city was good, but in certain locations there were problems. Because in certain cooperatives there were a so-called personal revenge. I also encountered that situation, and people normally were tasked to carry earth and build dams, and they ate only rice, watery cruels. And I encountered this situation as well, and I met people over there, and I thought to myself, I actually told him, the chief of that cooperative, that if people ate watery gruel, then it means that the cadres in that cooperative were not good enough. And then that gentleman was was not serious with my questions, and I told him that he had to be serious about that matter. And then actually the gentleman told me that I had to mind my own business, because if I was from the upper authority, I had to mind my own business. But it was my personal character that I would say what I saw it. And I told him that in the revolution we had to ensure equality in our relation. And I told him that if people ate watery gruel, it was not a good sign, because we were human beings. We have to be treated properly. So that's what I saw at that time. I told the chief of that cooperative. Mr. Lau Chunti, thank you. When you said you went down to the cooperative and you saw that situation, by your own eye. When did you go there, and did you report to the upper authority upon knowing that there was such situation in the cooperative?
Response. From 1977 to 1978, I had traveled various provinces more frequently. I went to the provinces, and I also noted or saw the situation of the people, and I reported to the upper echelon. I was advised to be a man who calls a spade a spade. So when I saw this, I had to really report to the upper echelon on what I saw. It doesn't matter who cadre he or she belonged to, at what level, because I was very honest, and I knew that because of that I was about to be purged. But I think I have been doing good to survive. Question. You said when you saw what happened, you reported to upper echelon. To whom you reported to? Pol Pot or other people? Response. I was conscious. I worked at the standing committee level with Uncle Om Ieng Sari, whom I could talk to. Mostly I talked to him. Pol Pot would call me to see him every now and then, and I would never hide anything from him when what I saw. On one occasion he said, I did not need to tell him about this. I should do that in the self-criticism sessions instead. When I said self-criticism session, it's more like when I talked about this to Om Ieng Sari, I told him about what I saw, and he said, he asked me to mind my own business, and he also, when I met number 1, he asked me to wait until the session convened so that I could really express or tell the meeting what I saw. I did not know whether he meant it or he would say it sarcastically. Question. You said you report to Ieng Sari on this. After such report, was there any change? Had there been any measures being taken in the areas where you believe to have problem? Response. None of this idea was taken. I did not know what he said or did in the standing committee's meetings. I just reported to him what I saw at the field. He normally said that there was a transition that we had to pass, and he explained to me that when it comes to transition, he asked me to be patient. However, I could really be patient because what I saw was really painful. Question. On the 26th of July at 2 o'clock and 33 minutes, you said there was a meeting held at Preh Kao Morakot Pagoda, in which the subject matter of building a progressive cooperative was discussed. Could you elaborate further on this? What would be the progressive cooperative? Response. Cooperative or progressive cooperative refer to the cooperatives after the victory of 1975. They would like such cooperatives to be established at all locations and bases. Cooperatives had to be strengthened so that members of the cooperatives could be well managed, because we were told that national democratic revolution was accomplished and we had to move forward to the social revolution. I did not quite understand the full details of this. However, through my experience at the rural areas, cooperatives were already in good progress, and that they needed to be more enforced, strengthened, so that we could generate some good forces for our national defense. Question. So, what kind of activities or what needed to be done in the cooperative to ensure that people could become active member of the cooperatives to make the cooperatives more progressive? Response. To improve cooperatives, we were told that we needed to join the social revolution, which means everyone shall enjoy equal treatment. It means if we had to eat 3 dishes per day, 3 meals per day, for example, each cooperative had to enjoy having the same amount of meal, and that we were doing this social revolution so that we could eventually reach the communism, because every member of the cooperative had been very devoted. They abandoned their big houses and they came to live together in the cooperatives. People wore the same clothes, had the same ideology, received the same trainings. So they had to abandon the old, blunt ideology, so that we were equipped to speed up, to achieve the socialism and communism, and that we had to understand how to protect our country, how to be self-sufficient, self-mastery, and indeed after these complicated phases, we knew that it's really painstaking, but we believe that we would be able to reach that goal. And this is what I witnessed after traveling all around the rural areas, and I also noted the progress that had been made so far during the course of my trip. Question: with regard to the cooperatives, you already stated that when it comes to cooperatives, everyone had to have a communal eating. May I know when exactly this communal eating concept or idea was established? Response: communal eating started before Phnom Penh had been liberated. It was in 1970, the 18th of March, when the coup d'etat was staged, and later on there was an event in In 1973, when this practice was already in place. It happened in liberated zones. In 1974, we would also see that people enjoyed having communal eating, but it was not commonly practiced in all places. But only after 1975 that the cooperatives were in great progress. This is what I witnessed. The President intervenes. Thank you, Counsel. Thank you, witness. Since it is now appropriate time for adjournment, we will adjourn for 20 minutes. The next session will be resumed by 3 o'clock. Court officer is now instructed to assist the witness and his jury counsel during the adjournment and have them return to the courtroom by then.
Sure.